This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
Up to you. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, good morning everyone. Please settle down so we can start. Welcome to COMP90041. This is one of the foundation subject in a lot of different courses, particularly MSIT. But I know there have been people from bioinformatics, mechatronics, civil engineering, and different MTech courses as well. Some of them could be like from economics, Bachelor of Commerce people as well. So good to have you all here. Today what we're going to do, I'll just cover that in a little bit, but before that I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay respect to the elders of past, present and the futures on whose land we are holding this lecture and you all are studying. This is what we are going to cover today. A little bit about the teaching staff, introduction to the subject. So there's going to be a lot of admin thing today before we jump on to any kind of Java thing. We'll talk about assessments, academic misconduct. That's a really important topic to be discussed. How to navigate ED. We'll probably do it a little bit later. Subject overview, what we are going to teach in this subject, what's new, what have we changed from previous semesters, and then a little bit about getting started with Java, data types, variables, some I/O kind of stuff. So very light stuff. We don't have to worry much about it. Starting next lecture, we will publish all these slides before. So probably Monday or Tuesday, we'll publish all the content for week 2 and so on. So you can have some time before the lecture to go through the slides, look at it. If you want to prepare a little bit, prepare it. It's good to have students prepared before the lecture so that you can ask your doubts as much as you can. Okay, so my name is Trina, and I am a lecturer, and I'm the subject coordinator for this subject. I've done a master's in computer science, a master's in data science from University of Melbourne, and I've worked in industry for almost 12 and more years, so it's still going on. My expertise is in Java, but I also have a lot of knowledge about these different languages. So I do a lot of Python because I'm in data. I've done a little bit of web as well, so React, a lot of cloud, a lot of ML sort of stuff. Amani is my co-lecturer. Amani, would you like to introduce yourself?
I don't know. Can you hear me? Okay, here. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Amani Abu Safiya. I have a PhD from University of Sydney. I did teach Java. I have worked with Java. I have also taught like most of the subjects, the languages that you see, and I have worked with it. And I have been doing this for more than 14 years now.
All right, so you have a lot of experience here with Amani, doing 14 plus years. I have 12 plus years, so I think you are in good hands. Thank you, Amani.
Thank you.
Okay, so before I move on to the next slide, I just quickly want to explain how we do it at University of Melbourne. So each subject has at least 2 lecturers, just for safety purposes, because if one of us falls sick, you have other person to teach it, right? So what we're going to do is the first 6 lectures will be covered by Amani, and then the next 6 lectures will be covered by me. So you will see a lot more Amani at the beginning of the semester and a lot more me. I will say a lot less me because people just stop coming to the lectures after week 5. But do come to the lectures. Don't skip the lectures. They're interesting. You will see a lot of live coding happening in these lectures, and the subject is about coding, right? So the more exposure you get to live coding, either in the lectures or in the tutorials, you'll benefit more. So I'll cover those things a little bit later. I want to introduce the teaching staff. One of them is missing. You can see a white spot. We just confirmed that tutor yesterday. So Nat is our head tutor. You can reach out to Nat a lot for any kind of issues. We also have Niket Sanduni, Hayu, and Henning. Most of them are either PhD students or have finished PhD. Niket is in PhD but has a lot of experience, again, 14 plus years of experience working in the industry, so you are in good hands there. Attend your tutorials, that's where you will learn the most. Okay, we'll move on to introduction to the subject. The subject is called Programming and Software Development, and the language that we use for this is Java. Now, a lot of people ask me, why Java and not Python, right? There are a lot of programming concepts, specifically the object-oriented programming. That's what we focus upon, and all of those things comes inbuilt in Java. You will see that you can do certain things, certain similar things in Python as well, but they are additional libraries. They don't come with the original language framework, right? So we want to focus on that. Python is quite flexible, so you can bypass all those concepts that we want to teach and write a very generic code. But that's not good enough. We want you to understand those concepts. You'll be doing or applying all of these concepts in a lot of different subjects. So I teach a lot of other subjects as well, mostly to do with the software engineering projects, capstones, those kind of subjects. And you will apply these concepts there. So you will see that if you're doing design and architecture kind of subjects, you're doing all of it based on Java. And if you don't have these concepts clarified here, you may not be able to understand it there. The subject is also a prerequisite for a lot of different subjects, including mobile computing. So if you look at mobile computing, probably you'll be doing a lot of Android there, again, based on Java. So that's the reason we try and we cover all the concepts that are important for other subjects as well. You can look at the key objectives in the handbook. Mostly, you would be reading a lot of specification, understanding, analyzing, designing your applications in Java. So you'll start with very small kind of programs in your tutorials. You will do a mid-sized program in your assignment 1, and you will continue that in assignment 2 as well. So it's about small to medium-sized project, not very large applications. And you'll be referring to these two textbooks. Most of the content is already present in this slide or in EdSTEM. So we'll cover EdSTEM in some time. But you can also refer to the textbook, and these are referenced, so you would be able to see which part have been referenced from where. Your weekly commitments, you have 2 hours of lectures. Friday, 9 to 11, Old Arts. So the slide says Old Arts so that whoever is not here knows where the lecture is happening if they want to join from next week. You have tutorials for 2 hours. The first hour is where your tutor will probably refresh your concepts for like 10 minutes at the beginning, demonstrate some of those coding practices and problems, and then they'll probably demonstrate how they approach the problem and how they would solve the solutions. Sorry, they would solve the problem. Sorry for that. It just happened. Oops. My Chrome died. Sorry for that. And then you have 1 hour within the tutorial where you'll be doing some self-paced exercises. You can do it by yourself. You can do it in a group of 2 or 3. So I encourage you to do it in a group. That's what's called pair programming. So it helps you understand how the other people would solve a problem and maybe help you if you are stuck as well, right? And your tutors are going to be in the tutorial, and they will explain to you if you are stuck somewhere, or if you don't know where to get started, they'll help you with that. So they'll walk around in the class. They may help different groups at a different point of time. But the second hour in your tutorial is your self-paced activity. Apart from that, you will see weekly workshops. So workshops are to be done at your home. You can do it anytime you want to do. None of this is examinable, which means you can choose not to do it. That means you'll learn nothing, and we don't want that. So it's good to have them done. I can actually see how many of you have attempted those. So if you're not attempting those, just remember that we know you haven't been doing them. But again, you're not marked based on any of it, so it's not compulsory for you to finish it within that timeline, but try and look at it whenever you can. You'll find most of the subject content on Canvas. If you don't know where Canvas is, which subject is this? Yes. So you can go to Canvas or LMS, that's what we call. You will find a lot of information here in Canvas. So different kind of links, what are the lectures, what's the semester plan, what is the subject overview, what we are going to do in the subject, and most importantly, you will go to Ed Discussion. So you don't have to enroll for Ed Discussion, but the moment you go there, you will be able to look at it. So there's 2 queries, I will resolve them after the class, okay? So you will be doing a lot more of stuff in Ed. We'll show you how the EdSTEM lessons, workshops, tutorials, etc. work. Lecture takes place in person. All the lectures are in person. Everything is supposed to be in person. So lectures are recorded automatically. You can view them later as well if you are not able to come to the class for some reason. If you're sick, you have any problem, the public transport wasn't working, fine. You can still look at it. You can have a live stream. So it's streaming right now, live. And I'll show you where to look at that. Go to lecture capture. And then you can click on this class and you can see that this is being live streamed at this point of time. Lecture capture. So, and then, sorry for that, there's a bit of lag there. So you can do that, or you can watch it later on as well. But it's better to be in the lecture here than doing it from home. There will be some additional recording time to time on the lecture capture, and we do that to assist you. So probably, if some of you don't know, how should I approach my assignment? How do I work around EdSTEM? We'll probably record some videos because we cannot capture everything here in the lecture, and we'll add those additional videos onto lecture capture and make an announcement. Take a look at your inboxes time to time, or if you don't want to look at your inboxes, your emails, you may also go and visit the Canvas announcement page, and there will be announcement made time to time. So it's very important that you keep up with them. They define certain deadlines, certain tasks that you need to do within those deadlines, so announcements really, really important. Discussions are done on EdSTEM and not on Canvas, and the reason for that is sometimes people want to share code or certain things which are very scientific, and then it's easy to do it on EdSTEM. It provides you all those facilities to type in your code. You can add a runnable code snippet in EdSTEM. So we actually promote discussions on EdSTEM, right? You will see that you can add some queries, like some of them have already, and the teaching team will reply to you, most probably in 2 to 4 hours, or at least in 24 hours. But feel free to answer your fellow classmates' question. If we see that your answer is correct, we'll endorse it. That means that the student has answered correctly. And we encourage that the student answers students' queries, right? So that way you learn as well. If we see that the answer is partially incorrect or whatever, or maybe totally incorrect, so we'll clarify that a teaching team, a person from teaching team will actually respond to your queries, but your queries doesn't get unanswered. So the first thing to do is always post your queries on EdSTEM as a discussion. And then if you're still not able to do, or if we see that the thread is going really long and you're not able to understand, we'll probably ask you to meet us up either in your tutorials or in consultations and say that you can discuss this with us. Assessments. This is very important because it's important to discuss what's going on, when are they due, etc. So you will find this. You will find all the information on Canvas or EdSTEM. I see a lot of people taking photos. Please do not do that. That's a violation of copyright. We ask at University of Melbourne to not do any copyright infringement. So you have everything available. You don't have to take screenshots of this. This PDF, this slides is also available on Canvas. So probably take a look at those things. Don't take photos. So the first assessment is a mid-sem quiz that happens within the lecture. You have to be present in the lecture room to take this quiz. So we mark your attendances. If you are not here, and if you are giving this exam from your home, we will not collect or calculate your marks, okay? You may get a 0. So week 6, 9 a.m., lecture hall, absolutely mandatory. So mid-sem quiz is a very short 10 to 15 question quiz. This is for 30 minutes, happens in week 6 lecture. You have 2 assignments, coding assignments, assignment 1 and 2. Usually assignment 2 is a continuation of assignment 1 most of the time, but it could be slightly different as well. And then you have final exam. We don't have a date yet. The date will be published close to week 10 or 12 probably. And it's a 2-hour exam, so it will comprise of mixed questions, some MCQs, short, long, medium kind of questions. So not very long, but like maybe one long question as well. The quizzes and exams run online, which means that you need your laptop and you need to log in your laptop, but they run on lockdown browser. Now, some of you may have done some subjects and are aware of lockdown browser, some of you are not. So lockdown browser doesn't allow you to open anything else except Canvas. And it's a Canvas-based exam, so you can only look at Canvas. You cannot take a look at any of your other screen, even if it is a PDF on your laptop. You cannot access internet. You cannot access even calculator on your machine. So you have to, if you want to access anything, you have to exit the lockdown browser and then do it again, and probably it will not allow you to go in again, right? So you cannot cheat, even if you're doing it on your laptop. That's the purpose of this. Ensure that you have downloaded lockdown browsers. We'll post or announce in some time how to do that. But so for midsem quiz and your final exam running on lockdown browser, we will also publish some kind of practice questions. So you will have a practice midsem quiz published in week 4. The questions are somewhat similar as the midsem quiz, but of course not exactly similar. The difficulty level of both of these quizzes, practice and midsem, are set in such a way that you have a mix of questions. So you'll have some easy question, you will have hard question, you'll have medium questions as well, difficulty level medium. So some of you complain that, oh, this was too hard. No, it's not. It's a mix, because we don't want anyone to fail the exam. And honestly, previous semester, I don't think anybody failed except 2 or 3 students, because they did not submit their assessment at all. So we do not want to fail anyone, but at the same time, we want to distinguish students who are doing really good versus students who are doing average. So they're always a mix of questions. Do your practice mid-semester quiz so that you get a hang of the type of questions that will come in exams, and also how to use the lockdown browser. So you can attempt the midsem quiz as many times as you want, but you can only attempt, you can attempt the practice midsem quiz as many times as you want, but you will be only able to attend the midsem quiz once for that 30 minutes only. There are 3 hurdle requirements for this subject. At least 50% of combined midsem quiz and exam. So your midsem quiz is worth 10 marks and your final exam is worth 40 marks. That means you need total 25 marks. Now, it doesn't mean you need 5 out of 10 in midsem and 20 out of 40 in your final exam. That's not what it means. It means combined there has to be 25. So you can get a 4 or a 3 in midsem quiz. Do not think that you have failed the subject because the hurdle isn't met. You can perform better in your final exam, get more marks, say 21, 22, and you'll still pass the exam, still pass the subject, right? Same goes for the combined assignments. So assignment 1 is 25 marks, assignment 2 is 25 marks, and you have to get at least 25 out of 50 combined in both the assignments. And then what happens is sometimes students, so your point C will automatically meet if you actually do point A and point B properly. But sometimes it may happen that you're not passing the hurdle, say, so suppose somebody got really good marks in assignments. So they got like maybe 40, right? But in the midsem quiz and the final exam combined, probably they got like a 24.5 and they're failing because they're failing the hurdle. So we don't want you to fail and probably will adjust that 0.5 marks, right? So you may pass the hurdle, you may pass the subject. But sometimes, so for example, if you have 0.5 or 1 marks lacking in your one of these, and your total marks does not get above 50. So suppose you had like 24 and we lowered the threshold for assignment saying instead of 25, we are okay with 24. And for the exams as well, instead of 25, we are okay with 24. So your final marks is about 48. So you're still not passing the subject because you did not pass 50% and above for the entire subject. And we cannot adjust those. This has happened with students We have lowered their hurdles. We have tried to make them pass, but they still don't pass because the overall marks is not above 50. And that is something which we cannot change even as a subject coordinator. So students come to me, ask me that we want to pass the subject, but I tell them that I have already lowered the hurdle threshold, but I cannot do anything because it's a university policy. You have to have at least 50 marks and both the hurdle passed to pass the overall subject. So look at the handbook for more information. The link to the handbook is given here. Next up, assignments, extensions, and special considerations. So your assignments are due in certain weeks. They'll be released in week 5, due in week 8, and then released in week 9, due in week 12, something like that. So you get 3 weeks to do each assignment. Some of the students sometimes feel that they are either sick or are going through some personal problems or whatever, and they can ask for extensions. We allow them extensions up to 3 days, short extensions, and I can approve them as a subject coordinator. So you have to email me, and before emailing me, you have to declare it in this online declaration form. What's your reason? How many days you are seeking? So sometimes it's not necessary that you'll always get a 3-day extension. You may get a 1-day extension. You may get a 3-day extension. So you define your problems, what's happening, and then send that declaration form to me saying that I have filled this form and I need an extension. Can I have it? And I can approve that. Anything which is more than 3 days, so from 4 to 10 days, this goes to the special consideration team, and you will have to fill up the form again with valid proofs. If they think that your proofs are valid, that's fine, they'll approve the extension. If not, they may ask you for more proofs as well. So these proofs has to be some kind of document. A lot of times if you are sick or anything is happening, you get a medical certificate. A lot of other times, so for example, one time I asked for an extension because my father was sick, but I still had to give his medical documents, right? So it has to be a valid proof showing why are you seeking an extension, and which is more than 4 to 10 days. But the max extension is 10 days. You don't get extension more than that. And that's for very specific reason. Usually, the number of extension days you will get is about 5, because we expect that you have had 3 weeks and you are getting, so it's 5 business days. That means you're getting a week extra. So you have 4 weeks, and that should be actually more than enough, unless based on the severity, the team decides to grant you a 10-day extension. Okay, some of you may have AAP. Does anyone have an AAP and would like to tell the rest of the class what an AAP is? Anyone with an AAP? It's okay if you don't want to disclose, that's okay as well. It's a very personal information. So an AAP stands for Academic Adjustment Plan. Some students get an academic adjustment plan before the semester start. I have seen a student, personally taught a student for 2 semesters, different subject, and that student didn't want to take an academic adjustment plan, but I encouraged her to take that because of her condition, whatever she was going through. And it's good to have an academic adjustment plan so that you don't come at the last moment and ask me like, I need an extension because I'm going through this and it's a severe condition. And they adjust the plan, so you can fill that form, ask stop 1, and they will adjust the plan for the entire semester. So based on your academic plan, adjustment plan, you may get a few days of extension for every assignment. Some people have anxiety when they are sitting with students and giving their exams, so you may get a different room to sit and give your exams, right? And then you may get extra reading time, writing time, so your plan is adjusted based on your situations and whatever your needs are. So for assignments, you can get up to 10 days. It's sometimes written pre-approved in your academic adjustment plan, and I would ask everyone, whoever is in the lecture room and not in the lecture room, if you have an approved AAP, please email that to me at the beginning of the semester. Even if you want to do that later, if you forget and you do that later, you would like to notify me at least before the submission date, before the due date. So if you're filling a short extension, if you're filling a long extension, or if you have an AAP, everything has to be notified before the due date. So if the due date is Friday in week 8, I need those forms at least on Thursday, week 8, okay? If you give it to me after the due date, probably I can't do anything, right? Extensions and special consideration for exams. So you have a mid-semester quiz. If you have an AAP and you want to take the quiz separately, not in the lecture room, please send that to me right now so that I can arrange it. So probably we'll book a room, we'll have you there. If multiple people have AAP and I have to adjust it, I have to book several rooms and several slots, right? So I need to arrange all of those. So send me your AAPs. And then for exams and mid-sem quiz, if you have any kind of problem, you're not able to attend the mid-semester quiz due to any reason, and valid reason, you can notify and fill up the form no later up to 4 business days. So suppose in week 6, Friday, you have your mid-sem exam, and you're not able to come because you're sick or you have something else going on in your life, and you can submit that form up to Thursday, week 7, and that's allowed. But if you do it on Friday, week 7, they will reject your form. And both of these extensions for mid-semester quiz and exam is managed by the centralized team, so I don't manage it as a subject coordinator. You will fill the form, it will go to them, they'll ask you for valid proof. They can approve, they can reject it as well, and then they will send it to me saying this person need a special consideration for mid-semester quiz. Sometimes we will hold the quiz. Sometimes if it's too late or something else has come up, we can adjust the marks for mid-semester quiz with your assignment. So we may scale your assignment marks and adjust that with mid-semester quiz because it's just 10 marks, right? But for exams, the special consideration is managed by the centralized team, and you will need to sit another exam, special consideration exam. So the same format, nothing is flexible there. And again, like I said, if you have an AAP, you may get an extra reading, writing time or a different room. Again, all of this is managed by the centralized team, but do notify your subject coordinator and within 4 business days after the exam. If you know, so I think a student was traveling for some university purposes to some other country, and they couldn't take a mid-semester quiz. Brilliant student. They applied for a special consideration, which the team denied, because if you're traveling and it doesn't matter because you have to be present in the university on campus. So the student reached out to me and asked that, can I take the exam before? And I allowed them, which was still okay because they were traveling for university purposes. I was flexible there. I can do that with mid-semester quiz, but I cannot do it for exam, okay? Because they're managed by the centralized team. So again, if you know in advance that you're going to miss it for whatever valid reason, send me an email. If you don't send me an email, I would never know. All right, the most critical bit, the academic misconduct, right? This is a very important topic. A lot of students fall into the trap of academic misconduct. We are advised to talk for at least 10 minutes in the lecture room for this, and you will get notified several times, each time before your exams and assessment about all the different academic misconduct and integrity rules, right? So academic misconduct can happen in any of these forms. First, plagiarism. So modifying Elsa's code, Elsa's answers, and make your own. So that's plagiarism. So if your friend, coworker, someone outside the university is doing something and you're modifying their code, you're getting hands on their code and just taking it and changing the variable names and method names or sending it to us, we would know. We have tools, we can detect plagiarism, and we will know. Cheating. So again, you just copied someone else's code as is, or you copied something from the internet, or you copied something from the AI sources, or you are outsourcing your project to someone else and they're doing it on your behalf and giving it back to you. All of that comes under cheating. Collusion. You can say, oh, I did my code and the other person did their own code, but you sat together and you did it the same way and you discussed it, and instead of you using your own brains, probably you're just poaching off someone else's. That's colluding. So that comes under academic misconduct as well. How do we know this happens? So we have tools, we can run comparisons, and we know that you have colluded with someone else. And mostly I know, even if you have copied it from internet, because people do bizarre things. They are not even supposed to do. One person wrote 12 files for one simple assignment, just assignment 1, very simple stuff. Supposed to be done in 3 files, wrote a bizarre code which was spread across 12 files. I know it was copied from an AI stuff. I don't even have to run the tools, right? So don't do anything like that. Recycling. Let me assure you, recycling is also considered as an academic misconduct. So recycling is when you're using your own things, own answers, own code, or any other thing, and that's your past work, and you're reusing it in one of your current subjects. So even though you did it before, you're not supposed to recycle it elsewhere without notifying, okay? So you may come up and say, hey, I have done certain things before, and I wanted to just take a little bit out of it and reuse it. Am I allowed? Probably we can give you better advice what to do and what not to do. So come up to your tutors, ask them, but do not just recycle without notifying them. So we may ask you, what's the source of this information? Have you done this before? Show us some kind of proofs that this is yours and not copied from elsewhere, right? So talk to us and we'll know more. Lastly, violation of IP. IP stands for intellectual property. So anything that you do, so all of this is IP of University of Melbourne. So every semester, I write so many different assessments, right? And even though I am writing it, it's all IP of University of Melbourne. I cannot reuse. So if I go and start teaching at Monash, I cannot reuse it, right? Because again, IP of University of Melbourne and not me. I'm bound by contract. So when I share those assignments with you, and if you go and outsource it somewhere, ask someone else to do it, or some students want to showcase that this is what they have done, put it on GitHub and make it public. Both of them are violation of IP, right? So do not do it. What can you do in this case? So I'm one of those person who encourage that if you want to showcase this for your interviews in future to your employers, do not make it public. Put it on GitHub. You can showcase it. Wonderful, because you do not have any previous experiences, internships, or anything. Fine, you can show all of your projects. Make it private, share it with their email ID, but do not make it public. I usually go and look up on the internet some of my previous assignments. They're all over on GitHub because a student does that. And if you're caught, you can be penalized as well, right? So don't do the violation of IP either. Anything, any screenshots that you're taking and you're putting on internet, any videos of lectures you're making or tutorials and putting on internet, those are all violation of IP. What happens when you get caught in the academic misconduct? So the teaching team runs different kind of tools on your assignment, assessment, exams, whatever, and we detect misconduct. Now, the first step to do is we have to prepare a detailed report why we think this is a misconduct. So we do not just tell the misconduct committee that these two people have cheated or this person has cheated off the internet or whatever. We have to show them some proof. So we write a detailed document. Nothing is without the proof. We write a detailed document and then we actually just notify the school liaison. So every school, so our school is CIS. There could be school, so FEIT, so engineering. Every school has different liaisons. So they check if our report is valid. If they say that's valid and they think the student have cheated in any of those forms, they will approve it, and once that's approved, that goes to a centralized misconduct committee. Now, they will take a look at it, they will schedule some sessions with you, and my role ends once that's approved and goes to misconduct committee. Now, even if you come and plead me that I haven't done this, I have these proofs, blah, 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 I have no role in it. I cannot talk in favor of you. I cannot talk against you. Sometimes if I'm busy, I do not even attend those sessions, so I'm not even present there, but I try to attend most of them. Sometimes they coincide with the exam schedule or something, so I'm not able to. So committee meets the student, not the subject coordinator. Even if I'm there, I'm not supposed to speak, I'm just supposed to observe. And then the committee can decide anything. And those things are usually, you may get a 0 in your subject, in your assessment. So say you have been caught for academic misconduct in assignment 1. That means you get a 0 there, which means you have to either score 25 out of 25 in assignment 2 or you're failing the hurdle, right? So don't cheat. Or you can get a 0 for the entire subject, and you may get it on your transcript that you have failed because of academic misconduct, or they may just waive it off out of the transcript. So remember, your transcript goes to your employers as well, right? So you may get a warning and it's not mentioned in your transcript, or it may be mentioned in your transcript, you may get a 0 in that assessment, you may get a 0 in the entire subject and you have to repeat the subject, or you may get nothing if they found you not guilty, right? Or you may get suspended as well. So that's a very extreme case. And again, once an academic misconduct is recorded, it stays on your record. So suppose you cheat and you get a 0, whatever, in the subject, and you have to repeat a subject, and you do it in another subject. So if you do it consecutively in different subjects, you may get a suspension from the university as well. So it's a very, I have seen students, it's very heartbreaking because we do not like to fail students, but that's something that happens and it's very hard. And every single time I have to send student that you're not getting your marks because your results for this assessment is held back because of academic misconduct. It's very hard. And I cannot explain anything else to you in that moment because everything has to be communicated by the committee. So I cannot tell you that if you're getting a 0, pass, fail, whatever, the committee will decide and tell the subject coordinator. So again, it's a request, do not cheat amongst yourselves, do not cheat off internet, do not cheat off AI. You will not find those assessments on internet because I write them from scratch, using my hands, on my brains, every semester. It's a lot of hard work for me, and I want you to learn. So I would rather have you invest your time and do things. Okay, communication process. So use ED discussions actively. That's your first source of, first point of contact. If you have any queries, put it on ED, whether they are related to the subject, whether they are related to any kind of processes, administration, schedule, tutorials, lecture, what is happening, put it there. Just do a control F and see that, can you find some related keywords? A lot of times students just repeatedly put the same query, and we are obliged to answer you and will always answer you no matter how many times you ask. And sometimes we may also say that please go back to this thread and read it. And if you have went back to that thread and you read it and you still find it confusing, probably repost your questions and we'll answer to you no matter how many times you ask, right? If you don't find anything similar, post a new query, and then even if you do not have a query, monitor the discussion board. So I used to do this when I was a student. Sometimes I would go look at my assignments. I don't have a query, but I don't even know where to start. So I'll just go and look at the discussion board and see what other people have posted. And whatever they post, that gives me good ideas. So I know what to do with my assignments. That's how I used to do. So monitor your discussion boards and learn something new. Maybe someone has a doubt, answer it, and you will learn something new. Watch out for your announcement on Canvas. Check your email inboxes. If you don't have them on your phone, that's fine. A lot of people want to keep the work-life balance. At least check your email inboxes in the morning on your laptop, right? Reach out to your tutors in your tutorials. So that's your second point of contact. All of you have tutorials. They are wonderful tutors. You go ask them. They will answer you. If they don't have enough time, they will ask you to email them and answer your emails later. So for example, if you're in a lecture room, in your tutorial room, and you have to vacate the room because some other tutorial will take place, and you don't get time to, they don't get time to answer your questions, email them, and they will reply back to you. And then your third point of contact is me and Amani. So if you feel that you need more help, we start holding consultation from week 3 or week 4. So I will post it in an announcement. We don't hold consultation before week 3 or week 4 because not a lot of content is covered. People start having doubts after week 3. So we start consultations from week 4. Every week, one consultation is held. It's for 2 hours. You can walk up there, sit, do your own coding, listen to what other people are asking, or if you have your own doubt, show your code to whoever is taking the consultation. So consultations are extras. This is something that we are not supposed to do, not part of process as well, but we provide them either way because we want you to utilize them and ask your doubts. So suppose if I do not have a lot of time covering in the tutorial, I can have a lot of time doing consultations, right? And you can ask me, like, this is my code, how can I improve it? And I can tell you in consultation, but not maybe during the tutorials as a tutor. And then if you still do have doubts, reach out to me and Amani. Send us an email. Tell us, like, maybe can we have a consultation with you directly? I want to clarify this. I'm not able to understand where to start, how to navigate, and we can help you out. All right, what's new this semester? So we have every semester, we take feedback from the students and we assess how good or bad is it for the students. So we used to have 3 assignments and 2 quizzes. We have changed that. So now instead of 3 assignments, you have 2 assignments. So you have to put in less work onto assignment and more work understanding the concept that we may ask in your exam. So 70% worth of assignment was too much for students, so we have reduced it to 50%, 25% each. Lecture style. We encouraged having a flip lecture room. So the flip lecture room concept came during COVID, where we would provide you everything before, and we wanted you to read, study, and come to the tutorial, and we'll do more hands-on coding and no concepts. We observed that students don't have time after week 5 to even attend the lectures, so they're not even studying, they're not even reading these lecture materials. Students go blank to tutorials. I think that's the worst. Prepare before your tutorials, so you understand what to do in the tutorial. So we changed the lecture delivery at least this time. So you don't have time to look at the lecture content before the lectures, that's fine. We'll cover the first half of the lectures, we'll cover all the concepts, and the second half of the lecture we'll do more live coding, okay? And then some of the new concepts were introduced because we want to remain updated with latest Java trends. So they are non-examinable. You will not be examined. And they will be taught in week 11 or week 12. And some of these concepts are required in other subjects. So for example, threading is a concept which was never taught in the subject before. And the reason because threading is not taught because this is a foundation subject. So you need to have understanding of operating systems before you can do threading, right? So again, we will teach it because it's required in other subjects, but they're non-examinable. So they don't come in exams. You don't have to study thoroughly, but you may need it in COMP90041, and then you'll say, oh, I read something like this. I have some code samples. Can I go back, look at the lecture content in COMP90041 and see if I understand it now better? So you can do that. So we'll teach you, but we'll not examine you. Exams are new. We used to have final quiz, and that was more MCQ style quiz. We have changed that to exam, so that used to be just 20% before, now it's 40%. So what we'll do is we'll share with you a practice exam, so you know what kind of questions will come in your final exams, okay? This is the subject overview, what we are going to cover. So we'll start with, in week 1, we are just doing subject overview. We'll start very basic, how you communicate with input and output devices. In programming, what are the different data types. We'll cover control flow and operators. So control flow is about how your program execute, what's the process, what are the steps, do they branch, do they run multiple times, etc. We'll cover some concepts like classes, an advanced version of classes in week 3 and 4. We'll do arrays. Some of these keywords may not make any sense to you, and that's fine. We'll cover each of them separately, but I just wanted to introduce what the concepts look like. Week 6, we will cover object-oriented programming. This is very important concept, and one of the most important concept in Java to understand how object-oriented programming works. So everything in Java is object and classes. We'll continue that in week 7, but week 7 is a Good Friday, and we may or may not have a replacement class there. So what we'll do is, if we do not get a replacement class for continuing object-oriented programming, we may record the lecture, and it's going to be a coding practice. So we'll record the coding practice, we'll upload it on Canvas, and you can view it in your own time, okay? Week 8, we'll do Java interfaces, exception handling, how do you handle errors that occurs in your programs, file handling, if you have to read external files saved on your disk, how do you read it in a program programmatically, so not every time you go open a text file or a CSV file or an Excel file and manually look at it, you can do it programmatically. Week 11 will cover generics and collection, and week 12 are some advanced topics like I mentioned, and we'll do 1 hour of revision, like how we'll discuss how to solve your practice exam so that you have a better understanding how to do the actual exam. So we'll tell you this question comes up, this is what you look for. So some of those kind of revision. You have 2 non-teaching period, the Easter break, and the SWOT WAC, where you prepare for your exam. So we don't hold anything during that time. not even consultations, because you're supposed to do it all by yourself. But if you need it badly, if you're not able to cope up with the subject, just send us an email and say, I need a consultation during the non-teaching period, okay? Okay, getting the most out of this course, be proactive, pay attention to the learning outcome in each lecture, what we are doing, what are the concepts covered, and then regularly check your progress. There is a weekly reflection present in EdSTEM. You will be able to look at that. Manage your time, plan your assignments, okay? You get 3 weeks to do an assignment. The assignment that you will be given probably will take you about 15 to 20 hours to do it. That's what we approximate. So we do it in 6 hours, and we expect that you will take triple the time, so about 15 to 20 hours, whatever. And you can plan it ahead. You have to be very regular. So why plan it ahead? Because sometimes you get a mental block. You're doing something and you're not able to advance. So if you start just 3 days before the submission, probably you're not getting anywhere, right? Probably spend two hours every day and you will be at a very good place. If you get stuck, you have your tutorials to go to and ask your tutor. So you have an ample amount of time to get help. But if you start just 3 or 4 days before the submission date, probably you'll not get anything. Break your assignments into smaller tasks. Every assignment that I usually publish, I write the intended learning outcome. So I'll say that, oh, you need to use control flows, you need to use this data type, you need to use these classes. Now you can go back and ask yourself, this is something that I feel is really important and I'm not quite good at it, but these are the parts which I'm actually good at. Let me focus and cover those things, and I can go and ask in my tutorials about the other things, right? So try and focus on those things. Ask for help and ask early. Okay. If you can quickly scan this, and it's not activated. I still got to activate it. Give me a moment. Right now, I want to see the response. I don't want to see the response. I want to clear the response. Clear responses, and then activate. And we'll quickly do this. Let's get to know each other. You can either scan that, or you can, I'm sorry, just a second, this is bad. Or you can join via web as well, okay? So you can either scan this, or you can join via web, and probably we'll see how it goes. So it says 13 surveys under view. Where are you from? Come on. Yes. Okay, I love it. Someone is from Greenland. Someone is from Pacific Ocean. Someone, anyone from Bermuda Triangle? No? All right, a lot of you are from the Asian countries, different parts of Asia. That's great. A few from Australia. I like someone who's from Perth and came all the way to Melbourne to study. I like it. Thank you so much for coming here. A few from New Zealand, probably 1 or 2 people there. One is from Antarctica. Great. All right, I think we have covered most of the bases. I'm assuming some of them could be from Mexico, but I'm not quite sure. Poor at geography. All right, next one. What was your undergraduate course? So a lot of people say science and engineering. That's good. Mostly computers, but I can see a lot of economics, commerce, design. I can see psychology as well. Okay. I may have to, I'll just allow you to do this for a while and lock this. Okay, lock it. All right, so statistics, I'm assuming a lot of data science students, for them it's a prerequisite. Mechanical, electrical, commerce, geology, physics, maths, great. Engineering, economics, software, biological, management, that's great as well. automation, cybersecurity. So a lot of people from computer science and non-computer science background. So this is very crucial. Understand the demographic of your class. Sometimes some people come and say to me that, I don't find my assessments challenging. I'm sure you don't because you have done these kind of subjects before, but a lot of other people have not. And it's important for us to balance your assessment in such a way that they are able to attempt it, right? If they're not able to attempt it, they're not learning anything. And if you are not able to learn something new, come to us, ask us, and we may give you some suggestions or some extra readings that you can do where you can learn something extra, right? That's what I prefer. Okay, did you do your undergraduate from University of Melbourne? So only 14% says yes, and 86% says no. So that's great. Some of you may be aware of the university policies. A lot of you maybe not, and for some people this could be the first subject in their semester. So that's okay. But we'll help you out with everything. So take a look at your announcement, and then you'll get all the necessary information on either EdSTEM or in Canvas. All right, what's your current master's course name? Data Science, Computers, Mechatronics, Biomedical Information, MIT.
The poll is locked.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Okay. There you go. More and more. Interesting. Yeah, somewhat still the same, mostly from FEIT, biomedical and mechatronics. Nothing new. All right, cool. The last one, do you have any previous knowledge of programming? So 36, 35, 30% and more says no. I like it. I love Python. A lot of students come and complain, oh, we're just so good at Python. Why are we not doing Python? Again, like I said, you'll not be covering a lot of bases if you're just doing Python, right? You are not covering a lot of different things if you're just doing Java as well. So you have to be very open, but this is just a basis. And based on this, if you understand this, you can do any other programming language, okay? Except probably C++, I hate it. All right, I think that is all. We will just take a 5-minute break, and then Amani will start. All right, I'm going to pause the recording, and we'll start at 10:05. Yes. Just a second.
Okay, let's start. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, so as you know, my name is Amani. Now, before we dig into actually Java, I just want to reinforce. Can I have your attention, please? Hi. Okay, so I just want to reinforce the idea of like what Terena said about practicing and putting the time. If you know already a programming language and this is your second or third or etc., there are certain things that we are going to teach that you are already familiar with. You just need to know the rules of Java in that aspect. But later on, definitely we'll have more concepts. And if you are new, you still also, of course, maybe you're worried, oh, I don't know this. People are already that advantage. That's also fine. What you need to do actually is just practice. Usually when my students tell me, what do I have to do? I'd say practice, 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 and then reach, of course, for help. So don't be worried. You are not the first person who has never like taught or like used a programming language. It's going to take time from you, and that's fine. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is that, so my first language was actually C++. And when I came to, my second language was Java. So I was like, what an annoying language. But then that's all right. So I needed to learn. And by time you appreciate really why Java is still used and why Java is popular, even though we have Python. But still Java is used actually in industry and applications because of different things that we are going to talk about. So the idea is that, what I'm trying to tell you is that for like maybe this week and the next week, the concept will be very easy for you because you are already, if you have used a programming language, it might be easy for you in terms of just, you need to adjust to the way, how do you print in Java, for example? What does it mean? Or how to use loops and so on. So that will be an easy part, but don't be fooled because I know Trina said that the enrollment drops or people stop showing after week 5, but usually this is where you get the new concepts. What does it mean, really, object-oriented programming? What does it mean when we look at things as objects? What does it mean, class, inheritance? And yes, if you're busy, we understand you can do that, but learning it with somebody who already knows so they can answer your questions would be easier than learning it on your pace. Because at that time, if you need help, you need to seek help, and then maybe it's not be on the spot. So I'd highly, highly, highly encourage you to try as much as you can to actually show up, especially when you start talking about concepts. Because now what we're trying to do is to get you familiar with the language. Later on, it's going to be about the rules of object-oriented programming. Does that make sense? All good? OK. So this is just, today we'll have kind of an intro to Java and how to use Java. And I'm going to start with a little bit of history. We're going to start with, if you ever taken a programming language, you know the first thing they show you is the Hello World program. So we'll talk about your first program. What does it mean, compilers? What are the different data types? What do they mean? How do we get input and output? And we'll do some basic operations on the data types or the variables that we are going to have. So to start with a little bit of history, so Java actually was developed or created by James Gosling in 1991. And at that time, so the reason that he created it is that before that, if you want to create a software, do you know what's a software? What's a software? If somebody asks you what's a software or a program? Instructions. OK, so you want to achieve a certain task, so you write the instructions for the computer to achieve that task, right? Now, before, if you have, so we have different kind of platforms. We have Mac, we have Microsoft operating systems, we have Linux, we have different kind of hardware. The issue that at that time, if you want to create a software, you need to do some kind of customization per operating system or per platform. So I cannot just take the same code, run it everywhere. So what James wanted to actually achieve is write once, run everywhere. So he wanted to do something about how can I just write the program once, and then I know it will be compatible to across the platform. So it will be more, we call it independent platform, like independent software, so it runs no matter what. So that was the main idea, and that's what made Java actually get popular. So he wanted to create this software that he will use on different kind of machines. Like I don't need to adjust. I don't need to fix my code and then run it again. Why do we need to fix in the older times? Because these operating systems, whether it's like Macs or etc., the way they store or deal with interactions are different. So you need to adjust in that time. So what he did is he actually said, OK, I'm going to find a way where I will create this intermediate language that my way of dealing with that language will make it independent. Okay? So Java, as you can see here, it says it's a high-level language. What's a high-level language? These are the programming languages that we use. So they are high-level because they are more understandable. However, the computer, at the end of the day, what does it understand? 0, 1. Yeah, right? So it's a machine code. So it's electricity, basically. So if at the beginning they used to code everything or used to be in 0 and 1, it's very hard for us to fix things, especially when we have these advanced applications. So what we do is actually we write in a high-level language. Java, Python, all of these are considered high-level language. And then some kind of translation needs to happen. Now, Java was popular because we have what we call the Java virtual machine. And what the Java virtual machine does is actually it takes, so we do a translation, so we compile. Compiling is actually, I'm going to talk about it again later on. But basically, you take this high-level language and try to make it in the language of the machine so it can understand it. So in Java, they did this intermediate bytecode, which creating a code or what we call compile. So it compiled it to a bytecode that can be run no matter what kind of operating system you have. So you'd have your Java virtual machine. It takes that bytecode and then translates it. Anyway, so our first program, as I told you, usually when they teach you a programming language, they come and talk about the hello world. So this is the structure that we have here. Now what you need to know in Java is that every Java program needs to have a class. So I need to have, oh, okay, I forgot about that. So if you run that code, or if you try to run it, it will actually show you this message, hello world. Okay? So now, just printing a simple message, we're not doing anything. However, maybe to you, you'll feel like, oh, well, what are these weird words? Don't worry about it, you will get to know them. But the idea here that I was trying to say that every Java program needs to have a class. The class will have what we call methods and attributes. We're going to discuss these later on. But the class will have the instructions, basically, in general, the instructions of how to do the things that you want to do. Methods are more like actions. I want to calculate something. I want to print. I want to do a certain, for example, print the transcript for a student. So how do I get their marks? How do I calculate their GPA? All these are kind of methods, or can be methods. And then attributes are more like the data that I want to use. What kind of memory I need? Where do I store it? How do I store it? How do I access it? So usually a class will have both of them. But as I said, within the class, these are the instructions of what you want your program to do. Now, the other thing that is important is that we need to have a method. The method, it's important that you make sure, these are like commonly frequent mistakes, especially if you are a first learner of a program, or this is your first language programming. Basically, in the method, you need to make sure that your method is within the scope. We call it the scope of the class. So if you can see these, I think I can point them, yeah. So if you see these tiny brackets, these, we call them opening braces or opening curly brackets. So that's the start. When I say this, it means, or when I use this kind of notation, it means that, okay, this is the start of my scope for the class. So this class is going to do this and this and that, okay? So now usually when you have methods for the class, you need to just make sure that they are inside the brackets. So the blue brackets here, I'm not sure if you can see them, but the blue brackets indicates whatever inside that class. So my class is called hello. This is what I'm going to do. Now, whenever you have a class, you need to have, like if you're running the program, you also need to have what we call a main method. So this method is the main method. What's the point of the main method? The main method, even if you try to run the class without the main method, it's going to give you an error. Why? Because the main method is the starting point for the program. So when the compiler wants to compile your code, it goes and looks for a main method. Okay? And then it starts from there. So anything you want to do, if you're going to use another method, if you're going to do a certain extra task, the starting point for the compiler is the main method. So you need to always have a main method. And the way that it's defined here is exactly how you need to know it. So now, let's talk about the words a little bit. What does public mean? Public is more related to the access. So we have public, private, protected. We're going to talk about them also later. Public class, it means this class will be accessed by other classes, probably, or depending on like how are we going to use it. In general, using private classes is quite advanced. We will not be using private classes in our course, so all your classes have to be public. So just follow this rule, but you need to know that also we can have private classes. Anyway, so class is the word. This is a reserved word. You'll see these colors are, these words are colored, mainly because they are identified by the compiler. Okay? So public means that I need to have, or to make this for example, unit or this item to be accessible by others. Now, class, as we said, is the defining our class. This is the class of the name of the class. Usually we start the name of the class. It's not a must, but usually we start it with a capital letter. And now, also another thing is that whenever you create a class, your file that you save has to match that name exactly. So if it's hello, my file name will be hello.java. Okay? Now, after that, so we have, as we said, everything goes in a class. Every class has a name, so you need to have a name for your class. And then we'll talk about the static later. So public, again, public main means this main is accessible by the class and by other classes as well. So can I change the main to be something else? No. If you try, you can try and run it. It's going to give you an error. I can't find the main method, because the main method has to be as seen here. So I need to use public, I need to use the static, and I need to use void as well. Anyway, so as we said, main is the starting point for any program. So Java, the compiler will go and look for the main method. Void, what does it mean? Void, it means that it's not going to return anything. We'll talk about also later on when we talk about methods. For now, you need to know that you need to have this this term. So this is a method that will do a certain task. It's the starting point of your program, and this is where everything starts, and then it kind of goes to whatever kind of instructions you are going to give. Does it make sense? So far, so good? Okay. The last thing here is, as you see, system.out.println. This is print line. So here we are just printing a message to the standard screen. Okay, so this is a library. We'll be using a lot of libraries. This is println is also a method. So it's similar to main. However, the task or the design of this is to print actually on the screen. Len is for a new line. So when we print it, actually, we'll have a new line, and then we'll go to the next line. And then the last thing is what you see in pink here in the double quotation. This is the message that we are printing. So if I want to change it to my name is Amani, what do I have to do? I'll just go inside and modify this text. Do I need everything else in my class? Yes, it should be the same. However, I just need to do some editing to the message, and then we'll go from there. Now, okay, so I was telling you that this is a high-level language. We talked about that. This is Java is a high-level language, and what happens when you run the program, we said that I need to translate it to a bytecode so that the Java virtual machine can run it. So how to do that? This is what I was saying about the compiler. Compiler is that we have a compiler in Java. What it does is that it takes your code and translates it into the bytecode. So when we try to compile, and you will see it, we'll have a file called .class. That's the bytecode that will be used later on to run on your program. So when I run, I'm going to use the Java virtual machine to run the code, or like to take the bytecode and run it and actually follow or execute the instructions. Okay, now as we said before, so I was telling you like how Java virtual machine is like, it gave Java the independence, so it can run on different platforms. So because these platforms talk in a different kind or take into instructions in a different way, what happens is that the virtual, no matter what kind of Java virtual machine, will take the bytecode and then translate it to basic on or specific to that operating system or that platform. I think one thing that I did not talk about is that when we compile, actually, we have two parts. We have what we call the interpreter, and then we have also the just-in-time compiler. The first one actually takes your code and translates it one by line. The just-in-time is just to speed up whenever is needed, it goes and compiles. So for example, if it finds you that you keep calling a certain method, it goes and keep the compilation code for that. So it keeps the bytecode for that. So now every time I go to the code, I have to do the translation again. I just use whatever I saved. So it kind of speed up the process. Now what's GRE and GDK? These are actually, the GRE stands for the Java runtime. So this allows you to run any kind of Java program in your machine, no matter what. And then the JDK, or the Java Development Kit, this is what allows you to create your programs. So if you want to develop a software in Java, you need or use the libraries provided by the Java Development Kit. Okay. So as we said, so I was telling you that every Java program needs to be in a class. So this is how we define class is, so we need the class. We use the public to give the public access, and this is the class name. And then always keep track of your brackets. So brackets are important. You need to just know where is the start and where is the end. And you need, as I said, to make sure that your main method or your other methods as well inside your class. Another thing, as we said, that these public static void main string, even these arguments, we'll talk about this also later on. But this is, for now at least, a fixed definition that we will always use in order to do a certain task. So your code probably will go here, or if you need to define other methods, that's also possible, but you need to have, and it's a must to have, main class. So this is something that you need to know by heart. Okay? Okay. Now, so we're saying that the program is actually will do a certain instructions, right? So I have a code that I wrote. Another thing that is important with programs is actually the data. Because, okay, if I am going to calculate your GPE, or GPA, or your total score in the university, how would I know it? I need your marks, right? So where are your marks? They need to be stored somewhere. So that's what we mean by the data. Now, data is any kind of information that we operate on. So whether I print it, I do some calculation, all of them are considered kind of data. We have a classification of the data. We have what we call primitive data, class, and then we'll also talk about arrays. What is primitive data? Have you heard of primitive data? So these are the basics that we have. So numbers, for example, characters. As you can see in the table here, these are all the types of data that are considered primitive. So Boolean is true and false. Sometimes it's not really a calculation. It's more about evaluating something. So you are looking for a logical evaluation. So it either can be true or false, or we call it 0 and 1. And then character, the car here, the character, is to define, so this is a single character. It allows you to define letters, special symbols. We also can start or store numbers in them, so we can use them as characters. And then what you see here, the byte, short, integer, long, these are also integers. The difference, so these are for numbers. The difference between them is in the size. Okay, why would I, for example, for the integer, if you see here, we have, it says 32 bits. For the byte, it's 8 bits. Why would I use a smaller memory if I can use a bigger memory? The capacity, yes. Capacity is important. You might think, well, my computer is powerful. Why do I care about memory? Memory is not that a big of a deal. Still, it depends. It depends on not all them, even though we have these powerful computers. But imagine like creating an application for a smaller device, for a smaller sensor. So sometimes in development, they really need to worry about how much memory they use. Because if you are just randomly selecting or creating memories, your memory will be full, your program will not run. So you need to be very careful how much to allocate. And this is why, for example, Python is not always used as an option, because Python uses a lot of memory. So people would go to Java for that reason. So you need to be very smart. So in that cases, okay, I would love to use an integer, but maybe because of the limitation of my memory or the kind of device that I'm going to develop an application for is actually small, so I need to worry about the memory. Float and double, these are for decimal numbers. So when we have point something, this is where we call them either float or double. Again, the difference is actually in the size. Okay, so what does it mean to have the data types? So what I was saying is that, for example, if I need to read a number, then I would probably define it as an integer. So the rule to define or to create what we call variables. So what's a variable? Variable is the name of the memory that you are going to use for a certain thing. So if I want to create, let's say I'm going to collect somebody's mark, okay? So how would I do that? I would actually I need in my program to allocate the memory. So allocating the memory or declaring the memory is done through that. You decide the type, and then you decide the variable name. So for example, if I say integer number, it means I need a memory. That memory is called number, and it's of type integer. So imagine if this is my main memory or my RAM, then when I create that number, then I will allocate it with that name. So whenever in my code I mention number, the compiler will know that this is the memory, go and do something with it. Access it, print it, it doesn't matter what kind of instructions I'm going to do. The thing is that I need to know exactly. Now, why do I need to say integer? Because the compiler needs to know what, the way the compiler deals with integer is different than string, is different than character. So the compiler needs to know exactly what is it, and the compiler needs to know the name. What does that mean? Whenever you need to use a variable, you need to have a declaration of that variable before using it. Because if I go using the system out.print that we have seen before and say number, and I did not say what is number, the compiler will show an error and would say, I don't know what you're talking about. What is number? I don't have it in my libraries. It's not a predefined word. I need more clarification. So in that case, the solution is to say, okay, before I say my system out.print, and we'll see it, I need to say integer number. Now for your variables, as we said, it's a variable. The thing about this memory is that it's, from the name itself, variable. So it means it can change. It's not a fixed value. So it will give me flexibility. If your marks change, I can change it. I don't have to go back to the code and actually change it manually. It will automatically be updated based on how I handle the program. Okay, it says also here in Java, so this is recommended, like when you name your variables. Now when you start on a small scale, it's okay if you call them X and Y. But imagine if you have 100 students and you need to take care of 100 marks. I can't call them A, B, C, D, X, Y, like it will be very hard for you and very hard for whoever is going to look at your code to understand it. So a good, it's a good practice to use some kind of descriptive names. So for example, if there are averages, maybe you call it average or AVG, etc. But use something that is meaningful, or at least give an indication of what kind of variable is that. You also start with the letters, and then you can also use in your names digits, and you can also use the underscore. As I said, so make them descriptive as much. You don't want to have a long sentence as your variable name. You can, but you don't really want to, because you'll see how full your file will be. But you need to use just something that is meaningful. As I said, every variable must be declared before being used. So you have to define what memory are you using, what is the type, before you actually go and do anything with it. Also, another point about variables or these memories is that they must be assigned a value before actually being used. So when you allocate your memory, it depends on the compiler, but usually it's an empty, imagine it's an empty memory, or sometimes they'll put a random value for it. If you want to use it, you need to put something in it in order to use it. And how do we do that? By assigning a value. So for example, here I said, okay, create a memory called number. It's of type integer. And then I would assign a value for it. For example, 3. Okay? Can I change it later? Yes, we can change it. And there are different ways to actually make it more dynamic and more interactive, as we'll see. So assigning a value for your variable can be done either in these two steps, or you can just have it as one line of statement. So integer number equal 3, and then what happens in your memory, that value will be stored. So this is what we call value, and this is the variable name. So the value of the variable is whatever inside that variable, and the variable name is whatever name that you have chosen to define your variables. Okay? So we talked about, okay, I need to create my variables. We said system.out allows me, so system.out.print allows me to print a statement. But even print is a method, as we said. It allows you to print on the screen. Also, in terms of print, we have multiple kinds of print methods. So print line, the difference between print and print line, if you can see here in this output, can you tell me what's the difference? So the len allows me to have an extra in line, right? So what does that mean? Look at this, print some characters. So I have print some characters, and then it did not start a new line, okay? Unlike this line. Why? Because this method, it means every statement, so whatever I'm telling you to print, and then add an end line to it. Start from a new line or start from the next line. So this is the difference between them, okay? We also have printf. I think we have an example here, yeah? So printf allows you to format your output. So there are different ways to do printing. You will see it, you'll get exposed to it, but these are just the basic things that we are going to use. So what does it mean to format my output? For example, if I want to have a variable as a string, I can have it within the text and then pass it as an argument. Okay, so we'll have our rules. It's not only, is it only for strings? No, for any kind of variables. So we'll have the variable, and then we'll print whatever we want. So if you look at this statement, it says, so usually the formatting will be using the $sign. Okay, so it says here $s, it means the string will come here. A string should come here. The $D here, it's the, I'm supposed to print a double number. Okay, so this is a number, and then this one will be for what? New line, yes. So this is for a new line, okay? Another thing, we'll do a practice now when we come to the live coding talking about the format. But another thing here is also the standard inputs output. So standard output is the printing that we talked about. So I have, for example, here system.out.print. The input is that it's not always that I want to assign a value. So we said integer number equal to 3, right? But sometimes I want to make it more interactive. So I would allow the user of my program to actually take the input, or to give me the input. So to create that, we need to use what we call a scanner. What's a scanner? So basically here, so if you see, this is import Java. So not everything that we use, there are certain things that are already built in within the compiler to understand, like integer, string, double, and so on. Others, you have to import libraries. Libraries are the definition of these kind of methods that we are going to use. So this lines tells the compiler that some of the things that I'm going to use are found in this directory. So you can go and access the definitions from there. Okay, now another thing that we have to do, as I said, so if you look here at scanner scanner is actually a class by itself. So we'll talk about classes later. So it's similar to this, for example, name of a class. So I have my class here, it's called scanner apply. So scanner is a previously defined, it's in the library. We access it through this import. And what we did here is we created a variable from that scanner, and we'll talk about this concept of creating from the classes, but it's similar to creating a variable from integer or a string and so on. Rules are a little bit like, we need to talk about the rules or how is it different, but the idea is almost the same. So here, so this is keyboard. It means I'm going to use it actually to read from the keyboard. Does the name matter here? Can I call it something else? I can call it something else. This is just to make it easy to read and understand that I'm going to store or to read the values from the keyboard. So now when I create my scanner, this is a new object of that class. So and I'm saying system.n. System.n means that it should be standard input. And the standard input for us is the keyboard. Do you know what's the standard output? The monitor, yeah. So even though the mouse is an input, but the standard one, so the mouse is considered also as an input, the standard input is the keyboard. Anyway, so here what happens in this code is it basically creates this object that allows me to get data from my keyboard, okay? And then this object, so this class has different methods. One of the methods that we are going to use is next line. What does next line do? It reads the next input or the full line that the user entered when they are going to, when I run the program, so I'm expecting an input from the user. When they enter it, it's going to read that whole text and then store it in this variable, which is called name. Okay, and then we will print it out. We'll do an example and I'll show you in practice. But the idea here is that in order to read from the standard input, this is how, or this is one of the ways that we can do. So we'll use the scanner, we'll create an object from the scanner, and then I will take, using one of the many methods that we have, so we have next line, and then store it in a variable, or we can print it immediately, it depends. But I'll store it, for example, in the string, and then go and print it. And look at the print line here. Even though I'm printing string, so it's a different style than the printf. Which one should you use? Whatever you prefer, but you should be familiar with both of them. Okay? So this one exactly does what we showed before for the print string. Just show you quickly here. So here we were printing the string by having it within the format. This is also another way to print. Anyway, another thing that we can do, so we're talking about the input. So either you put, so when you handle values for your variables, either you can assign it immediately, and that's a fixed value, and you can change it, of course, but you can assign it through hard coding, or you can ask the user for that value. So we do it through the standard, the scanner that we were talking about. But also we can, another way to pass it through the user is to actually do it through the command line. So I will pass, so if you see here, it's going to print, however, it's going to take from argument 0. And what's argument 0? This is, if you see here, this is an array actually. I will talk about it later. But what happens is that, so when I compile my program and then run it, when I run the program, it's not only I'm going to say run the program, I'm going to pass a value. So that's my arguments that I'm passing. So if you notice here in this statement, so this is to compile. So Java, hello Java is going to change it to the bytecode that we talked about. And then when we want to run it, it's going to, so this is the program that I'm going to run. And then I'm going, and I'm saying pass Java as my arguments. Okay? When it runs, it's going to take that value. So it's passed here. And then it's going to print it. So that's why we see it hello Java. What if I run the program, Java, hello stranger, without saying anything? It's going to give me an error. Why? Because it's expecting an argument. So it's going to tell you, okay, you're trying to print something. So it's going to, so the compiler will go through this line, will come here, print hello, access, this is a memory. So access location 0. If there's nothing inside it, it's going to give a 0. There's no arguments. You didn't pass anything. So as a first, if you are like your first language, you will really realize how dumb the computers are. But you need to be very clear in terms of instructions, because the computers cannot really guess and learn unlike humans. Anyway, so why 0 here? It says the counting. So all array, I think in most of the languages, all the arrays start from index 0. So that's the first location in our memory. So always you need that we don't. Unlike mathematicians, I think they start counting from 1. We always start from 0. We'll talk about arrays later on, yes?
Sorry, about this
Yeah.
You have compiled the file hello.java, but your file is hello stranger. I think.
Oh, yes. This is a mistake. You are right. Yeah. So I should do what?
I think you have to compile the hello stranger.java, so you get the Java stranger.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's right. So that's a mistake, actually. So if I compile hello.java, then here I should run hello. Or if it's hello stranger, then this should match. Oh, you need something? Okay.
No, that's fine. I just want to clarify one thing. So if you look at the code, it says public class hello stranger, all right? So your class name is hello stranger, so it should be Java. If you do something like this and you try to compile, say Java C hello.java, suppose that code is written with the class name hello stranger and it's present in a file hello.java, the compiler will show you an error saying the class name does not match with the file name. So whatever is your class name, so suppose your class name is hello stranger, your file name should also be the same. So it should have been hello stranger.java. And then you save it in the same file and then you compile and then that's your own file.
Yeah. Thank you. So they should match. Thank you for pointing that. Yeah. Okay. Into live coding. So in order to do that, now I'm not going to do the text pad or the IDE. Trina will help me hopefully if we have time. My machine having some issues. But what we will start with actually is the edge stream. So what I want you to do, if you have your computer, just to show you as well. So if you, let me just show you. So if you go to Canvas, into your LMS, inside the course, okay, I think, so if we go here, just one more thing before we go to the ed, actually, is that if you want your, I think, Tarina, you already discussed the lecture capture for them to see, but I think if you want to access the material, the slides themselves, so if you go into modules, at the bottom, you'll see that these are the lectures. So today, for example, this is the slides that we are using. Okay, you should be hopefully able to access them, but the slides that we are going to use will be available on LMS. Now, to access the ed, you would see here an option. I don't know if you had a moment to open. So if you see here on the side, we have ed discussions. Click on that. It should take you to the ed platform. And as we said before, here you can see all the discussions. Also, another thing you can do is if you go into the right corner, I'm not sure how fast I am, so if you want me to wait, please tell me to wait. Are you following? Have you found ed? If you did not find and you are shy, just raise your hand. Nobody is going to see you. Okay, cool. Okay, so here, if you can see, we have actually some options. Maybe your option is slightly different than mine, that's fine, but at least you should be able to see the lessons, I'm assuming. Yes, can you see it? So actually, if you see the lessons here, another thing other than the slides we offer also is you can see that we have a lecture slides, an ed. Give me your attention, please, for a minute. Here. So in the lecture slides, you will actually have similar to what we are teaching today, but more detailed and with more examples. Okay, so if some of the things that I said you did not catch on, that's okay. You will also find them in details here, added and explained. Okay, so you can always go back here, and as I said, in some of them you'll see actually some kind of exercise for you to do as well. Anyway, so another thing that you should be able to see, hopefully, is what we call the workspace. Can you click on that? Do you see anything? I need somebody to know exactly. Okay, so you can see, the public one then. If you click on public, can you click, please? Okay, so you can see this is one of my workspaces. So if you click on Amani, so I think also, can I have just a quick look as well? Just want to go back. Okay, so you can create your workspace as well. Okay, so now this is actually, so here in the workspace, if you can see here, let me go back. So as a student, also, you can have your workspace. You can share it with others, but you can have your own workspace where you put your files and you can run your code as well. So that's something that is useful. You can access it from anywhere, and it runs on the platform itself. So you don't have to worry about if you have your IDE installed or not. The thing is, as well, is that if you go there, let me, for example, say that I'm going to create a new file. So let's do the hello. And I can see people are joining here. And I will zoom a little bit. However, I think if I write anything, can you see what I'm writing in your machine? OK, so maybe it's easier for you to see it on your screen instead of following the big screen here. So it's up to you. But I'm just also telling you that if you want to take a snap of code, you don't have to do it through your phone as well. You have the files, and these will be available. So you can access them through that. Anyway, so we said that I'll have, so for example, let's say this is a Hello Java file. As we said, the class name should match the file name. Now, another thing here I have is actually my terminal. OK? So the terminal will allow me to run the programs. You can even yourself create files using this, or you can create them through the command line. Now, what I want to do actually is to try and, let me try to zoom, so hopefully it's easier for you to see. If you don't have your computer today, it's fine. But you can, it's up to you as well if you want. So anyway, so I would say Java C, and then hello.java. Let's see, what do I get? OK, so far so good. No problems. And then if I type, so what is this statement does? It's actually Java C is Java compiler. So I'm telling the compiler to compile my file, which is called hello Java. Now let's run this. How to run it? So I will use Java, and then I will use, if you see, once I actually compiled my file, you can see that I have this hello.class, a new file. So this is the bytecode. So now I need to run that file. So in order to do that, we just use the name. OK? Now when I run the code, it's giving me an error. What does it say? Main method is not found. So I have to have in my class a main method, because the compiler doesn't know from where to start. So what I need to do, public, yes. Main, and we need to have the string arguments. OK? Methods also have brackets, so you need to be careful of the brackets. So these are the brackets of the method, of the main method, and this is, as we said, for the class. OK, let me try to see it again. Maybe I have other errors. OK, so far nothing. Let me run it again. It's running. I didn't give it any instruction, so it's not really showing me anything, because I didn't do anything. Right? But at least I don't have any typos. If you have typos, like, you can try it, it's OK. You just need to know how to fix them, and we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so I have my main method, and I'm just going to start simple by saying system.out.print, for example, hello. Almost all statements, there are exceptions as we'll talk about them. In Java, they end with a semicolon. So always it's good to remember your semicolon, or this is a common, frequent mistake that we all do. So I did just print. Let me compile. No errors so far. Hello Java. OK? So it prints whatever I put inside that message. I can say testing. What do I need to do? If I do, look here, please, to my screen, or if you can see it through your screen. So if I do Java hello, it still says hello. Why? Decompiles, yeah. So what is it? It's running actually is the last translation, which didn't even have the changes. So what I need to do first is to go and compile it, reflect the changes on the file, and then run it. OK, testing. Oh, need to be aware of time, but let me show you. So we talked about the variables and formatting them. So let's say, for example, I have a double, and that's number. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit to give space. So this is my number, and the number is equal to 6.123, for example. Let me go again. Especially if you are new, it's good to always compile and try, because to see if you have any errors, fix it line by line. Now, okay, I want to print this, and I want to do some formatting on it. So the first thing is I'm just going to use the print format as it is. Okay, so if you see here, the print format should take, actually, the format as we said, and will take the arguments that you want to pass. So what does that mean? I will say, for example, the number is, and then to indicate that this is the number, I'm going to use the float number, and then the number is, for example, so this is my format, print the number, and then I'm going to go here and print that number. So I'll pass it as an argument. Okay, let's try and print this. I don't have errors. Let's see, what do I get? So can you see what do I get here? Sorry, I'm going to run it again, so it's easier for you to see. Here. So it says the number is 6123, and then 3 zeros, and then it kept, or it did not add a new line, right? So if I want to have a new line, what should I do? Yeah, print the n. Okay, so I will do the semicolon, I will do, the reminder, and we'll also do the letter n. So now if I run it again, let me do that. Okay, so now I have my new line. What about these extra 3 zeros? So the default setting for the float is to have 6 decimals. So what if I want to control it? I want to print my numbers in 2 decimals. How to do that in the formatting? I'll come here and say, for example, 0.2. So in formatting, in using the formatting for the numbers, you can say x.y. X allows you to control the space, how much space you want to allocate for the number, and then the y will allow you to put how many decimals. So if I say .2, it means I should have it 2 decimals, so 6.12. Okay, let's try to add the space. What does it mean adding the space? So I will go here, for example, and say I need to allocate 15 spaces for that number. So if I try and run it, let me compile and run. Okay? So if you are printing a table, for example, you want to control the spaces. So this is a way to control it, so to allocate the space. Now, if you notice here, another thing that we can do, actually, I think 15 is big, but let's try it on that. If I add 0 before the 15, let's see. So what does it do? It adds leading zeros. Okay? So if I'm using 15 space, it will allocate the number, and then the remaining, it will add zeros. Another thing I can do is that instead of saying 15 space, what if I say minus 15? Minus 15 is going to go and put it on the other side, so it will keep a space. What does that mean? So it's going to align it to the left, but it will keep that 15 space for me. So if you notice without it, let me just show you what I mean. So without it, it's allocating the 15 space, but it's putting the number here on the right side. If I want it on the left side and then another value here, so I can use the minus. And let's add something for you to notice the difference. So if I compile, there we go. Okay? So can you see? So it allocated the 15 space, but it just put the variable on the side. Okay, another thing we talked about is actually reading from the user. So I'm going to start with the argument, the command line 1. So I'm going to say, for example, let's say I have a string, and that's name. Okay. And then the name will be equal to argument 0. Sorry. So I'm just using string. Notice string is not colored like double, even though it's a standard, but because it's a class. We'll talk about string next time, hopefully. And then I want to print whatever is there. System.out.print. Okay. My name is, for example, name. Okay, let's try and run that. Let me try to run it.
We needed a comma right there or a plus. There should be a comma, I guess,
In the name? No, it's fine. No, it's fine. So this is another way to do it. Okay, but it still gives me an error. Can you say here it says array index out of out of bounds exception, sorry. So why here? Because I'm expecting?
We didn't give input required.
So I didn't pass the argument. So what I need through the command line. So when I say hello Java, I need to say, for example, I need to give something. So that should show my name is Amani. Okay? So I need to pass it while I'm giving the command. Run the file, and this is the argument that I pass. Just the last thing to do is to read from the input before, to read actually from the input. So we need, in order to do that, if you remember, we need to actually import a library, okay, dot scanner, okay, and then I need to declare, so I'm going to change it instead of our arguments, I'm going to read it from the scanner. So I need to create, okay, scanner, let's say input, whatever you call it. Okay, so system, obviously you see here it says input stream, so I'm going to read from the keyboard. And then instead of passing it as an argument, I'm going to say input dot next line or next, both are fine. Okay? To also direct the user of my software, let's say, so I'm just going to say system.out.print before entering or before reading the value. For example, enter your name. Okay, let's try and see if I did not make any mistakes. Okay, so far it seems fine. So I'm not going to add anything. This is just running the program. So it says here, enter your name. So I'm going to say, I don't know, Sarah. So my name is Sarah. Okay? I think we ran out of time. So we'll continue. I think we have a few slides. We can continue next time. But do you want to manage to show them the?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So
Right. I will quickly show.
just wait a minute. We'll just show you another way to run your code if you don't want to do it through the platform.
So I will quickly show how we traditionally used to do the program compilation. So traditionally what we'll do is we'll download the compilers and then we'll quickly compile everything. We'll write programs on our notepad. And why I want to show you this is because to make you understand why we are doing it on EdStem, right? So what will happen is, suppose, too small to see. Come on. Okay. You should be able to see it now. So what would happen is you will download a compiler, JDK, JRE, whatever, and then you can see that I have something like this installed. How to install these? If you go to EdStem, you'll find a Lab 0 that will help you set up the Java environment on your laptops, right? So I have Java installed. I'm not going to go through it. But what we would usually do is probably write something in a Java file, say, okay, public class, hello, and then say public static void main. And it's really hard. So you would notice that when Amani was typing, something was showing as optional, and you can just go and select. So it gives you some kind of hint. So it's called IntelliSense. And modern IDEs are actually quite intelligent like that. But on a notepad, I have to type everything, right? So it's really hard. So if I type system out println and then say hello world, yep. And then I can simply compile it. So for example, if I do hello stranger.java, it's going to give me some error, file not found, right? So the class name and everything has to be same. So if I say java c hello.java, it compiles fine. And then if I do this, it says hello world. So this is fine, right? And then you move on to your IDEs. So your setup also tells you how to do IDEs. So I have IntelliJ with me here, and I can go create a new project, and I can actually say Java demo, whatever, and I'm going to. So it gave me a main file. It's automatically written whatever it's written. But the ease of doing this is I can simply run it from here. So I don't have to write fancy things, Java C, Java, whatever. I can just click a button, and it helps me write everything. So doing things like this, not sure where it went. So doing things like this in an IDE would actually give you a lot of benefit. So what I actually recommend is you start installing and setting up IDE, and you work it on EdStem as well. So EdStem is more cloud. Everything is saved there. Your local files may get lost, may not get lost, may have some kind of version issues or whatever, but you'll find more versioning happening on EdStem. So it started with a notepad, moved on to IDE, and then moved on to cloud. So we'll rather have you on cloud and everything secure, okay? So that's it for today. Stopping the recording now. Thank you, everyone.